The Jonbenet Ramsey Case Top Suspects, Part 2. John Mark Karr. John Mark Karr was a Georgia schoolteacher who became a suspect in the Jonbenet Ramsey case due to a confession he made in 2006. John Mark Karr initially confessed to Michael Tracy, a professor at the University of Colorado, who had been researching the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Karr's confession came to the attention of authorities when Tracy shared the details with them. Karr later made a public confession at a news conference in Bangkok, Thailand, which drew significant media attention. Several other factors contributed to the suspicion around him. 1. Inappropriate behavior. Karr had a history of inappropriate behavior, including marrying very young girls and possessing child pornography. 2. Obsession with the case. Karr had an obsession with the Jonbenet Ramsey case, which raised eyebrows. 3. Discrepancies in his confession. There were inconsistencies between Karr's confession and the actual crime scene details. 4. Lack of physical evidence. DNA evidence did not link Karr to the crime scene, which ultimately led to his dismissal as a suspect. There were several discrepancies in John Mark Karr's confession that raised doubts about his involvement in Jonbenet Ramsey's murder. 1. No drugs found. Karr claimed he drugged Jonbenet, but an autopsy revealed no drugs in her system. 2. Lack of entry details. Karr couldn't explain how he gained entry to the Ramsey home. 3. Public knowledge. He provided no details that weren't already publicly known. 4. DNA evidence. Crucially, John Mark Karr's DNA did not match the unknown male DNA found on Jonbenet Ramsey. This discrepancy was a significant factor in discrediting his confession and ultimately led to his dismissal as a suspect in the case. These inconsistencies, along with the lack of physical evidence linking him to the crime, led authorities to conclude that Karr's confession was false. Additionally, handwriting samples were collected from John Mark Karr and analyzed in connection with the Jonbenet Ramsey case. A leading handwriting expert, Kurt Baggett, stated he was 99.9% certain that Karr wrote the ransom note found near the scene of Jonbenet's death.
Baggett noted that there were at least a dozen traits that matched up perfectly when comparing a high school yearbook signed by Karr and the ransom note. However, other handwriting experts had different opinions, and some believed that the similarities were not enough to definitively identify Karr as the writer. Finally, Karr claimed he was in love with Jonbenet and confessed to accidentally killing her. His confession garnered significant media attention, but it was later discredited when the lack of conclusive physical evidence and DNA evidence failed to link him to the crime scene. Despite these factors, the lack of conclusive physical evidence meant that Karr was not charged with Jonbenet's murder. The case remains unsolved, and the search for justice continues. Chris Wolf. Chris Wolf was a Boulder, Colorado resident and a local reporter who became a person of interest in the Jonbenet Ramsey case. This was due to his connection with the Ramseys and his suspicious behavior. He was named as a potential suspect by the Ramseys in their book, The Death of Innocence. Chris Wolf's suspicious behaviors that made him a person of interest in the Jonbenet Ramsey case included: 1. Inconsistent statements. Wolf gave conflicting accounts about his whereabouts and actions on the night of Jonbenet's murder. 2. Accusatory letter. He wrote a letter to Carol McKinley in 1998, in which he made accusations against the Ramseys and suggested that their son, Burke, might have been involved in Jonbenet's death. 3. Suspicious behavior. Wolf's girlfriend reported that he was acting suspiciously and was not home during the time of the killing. 4. Connection to the Ramseys. Wolf had a connection to the Ramseys, which added to the suspicion around him. Chris Wolf's girlfriend at the time, Jackie Dilson, made several accusations against him. She reported to police that Wolf was not at home on the night of Jonbenet's murder, which raised suspicions about his whereabouts. 2. Strange behavior. Dilson claimed that Wolf was acting strangely and exhibited unusual behavior during that period. 3. Connection to the Ramseys. She also mentioned that Wolf had connections to the Ramseys, which added to the suspicion around him. These accusations contributed to Wolf being named as a person of interest in the case, although no concrete evidence was ever found to link him to the crime. Additionally, Chris Wolf's DNA did not match the unknown male DNA found on Jonbenet Ramsey's clothing. This was another factor that contributed to his dismissal as a suspect in the case. Handwriting samples were collected from Chris Wolf and compared to the ransom note in the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Jacqueline Brungart, Wolf's former girlfriend, believed that his handwriting matched the ransom note and paid for a document examiner to create a recreation using letters from Wolf's journals. However, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, handwriting expert concluded that Wolf did not write the ransom note. Wolf filed a defamation lawsuit against the Ramseys, claiming they falsely accused him of being involved in Jonbenet's murder. During the legal proceedings, it was revealed that Wolf had written a letter to Carol McKinley in 1998, in which he made accusations against the Ramseys and suggested that their son, Burke, might have been involved in Jonbenet's death. Wolf's suspicious behavior, including his accusations and his connection to the Ramseys, made him a person of interest in the case. However, there was no concrete evidence to link him to the crime, and he was never charged. Ultimately, Wolf was thoroughly investigated and cleared as a suspect. The case remains unsolved, and the search for justice continues. Linda Hoffmann Phew. Linda Hoffmann Phew was the Ramseys' former housekeeper and became a person of interest based on a few factors. 1. Financial troubles. She had asked Patsy Ramsey for a loan to cover overdue rent shortly before Jonbenet's murder. 2. Suspicious comments. She allegedly made a comment about Jonbenet being so pretty that someone might kidnap her. This comment was allegedly made sometime prior to Jonbenet's murder. 3. Connection to the Ramseys. Her close relationship with the Ramseys and her access to their home raised suspicions. She was thought to be among the few people who potentially had access to know John's work bonus amount, which closely matched the ransom amount in the note. Handwriting samples were collected from Linda Hoffmann Phew during the investigation. However, multiple handwriting analysts concluded that her handwriting did not match the writing on the ransom note. The investigation ultimately excluded her as a suspect based on this evidence, along with other factors. Hoffmann Phew was never charged in connection with Jonbenet's murder. Comments on the unknown male DNA. The trace unknown male DNA found on Jonbenet Ramsey's clothing was given significant weight in the case for several reasons. 1. Exclusion of the Ramsey family. The DNA evidence excluded Jonbenet's immediate family members, including her parents and brother, as suspects. This was a crucial development as it shifted the focus away from them. 2. Presence of foreign DNA. The discovery of male DNA that did not belong to anyone in the Ramsey family suggested the involvement of an intruder. 3. Consistency with the crime scene. The DNA was found on Jonbenet's underwear and long johns, which aligned with the theory that she was sexually assaulted. 4. Public and media attention. The presence of unknown male DNA generated significant public and media interest, keeping the case in the spotlight and encouraging ongoing investigation efforts. Some experts criticize this amount of weight given because they argue the trace DNA may have an innocent source. John Mark Karr and Chris Wolf's DNA did not match the unknown male DNA, and this DNA evidence has not yet led to the identification of Jonbenet's killer. Advances in DNA technology and genetic genealogy testing continue to offer hope for a breakthrough in the case.
Thank you for listening to this podcast or watching this video. Please subscribe, like, and share so you can support this work and so I can reach more people like you. If you'd like to support this content further, please click on the links provided here. Thank you again. Have a great day.